Welcome to womenempoweractive, an initiative started by ursportswear to empower women to find their own active adventure. I'm your host, Jacalyn Gross. Today, we're catching up with Crystal Hudelson from Rose Rock blog. I'm so excited to talk with her again. Probably about a year ago, we had a conversation. Crystal told her story, which was really captivating. And if you want to check it out, you can go to UR Sportswear's YouTube page, and it is the first episode in 2024. But we're going to do a catch-up episode because a lot of the things that Crystal was talking about were just about to happen. Like all the work that she was about to, was putting out there was just about to culminate into something amazing. So I wanted to catch up with her. So first of all, thank you for doing this and being here in person, Crystal.
Thank you for having me. It's always flattering to be asked to be on a podcast, especially yours that I do also listen to as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So first of all, this is what I wanted to start with because it was like one of the big things for you was your climbing and how your climbing was going to go for the upcoming summer of last year. So I want to know, like, how did that go? Because you're like, this is like the do or die. This is going to tell me my work is working, or, because you had struggled with some viruses previously, I should say. And so you're kind of like coming back from that and lifting a lot more and things like that. So like, how did that summer shape up for you?
Oh, that's a good question. The past summer was actually difficult for me personally just because of the things that had been going on with my affinity work that I was involved in. And I will say I didn't climb as much as I wanted to.
Okay.
And I did actually end up going through another round of treatment for my viruses as well, which is fine.
Yes.
It's part of the process of, okay, is one round enough? No, maybe you need a second one as well.
Yeah.
My virus load was off the charts the first time. And then, of course, they can't really test the second time because it still shows a virus load. So it depends on how you're feeling. So I just had to really monitor and check in with myself about how I was actually feeling while still working full time, while still guiding for an affinity group. And then just trying to maintain my personal relationships as well. So it was a lot. And at the end of the summer, I ended up leaving the affinity group, which I think was best for me for my health. I honestly was not doing that well, unfortunately. And I think it's just taken a lot of time, effort, and energy to get back on track for my own personal climbing. And I've been saying this for years, but I don't think I've been really serious about it. Simply because I've been so busy, right? So this past winter, actually up until present, because it's February right now, I've gotten back into a lot of lifting. But I decided to employ some professional help. So I'm actually a coached climber now from Natasha Barnes. If you've ever followed her or listened to any of her podcasts, she's amazing. And she talks about specifically women and femmes need to lift. We need to lift heavy for our health and wellness and well-being as well. So I've really taken that into heart. And I didn't think that lifting would cross over into my climbing in such a powerful way. I didn't mention too that I also went straight into a severe back injury.
Oh no, yeah.
Yes, the severe back injury at fall of last year.
Oh.
It was so bad that I was just in constant pain, sitting, walking, standing, you name it, just anything was pain. And so I went to a PT for it, but then when I went to Natasha, she's like, well, you have to lift. And I'm like, I have a back injury. How am I supposed to be lifting right now? Isn't it going to cause me more pain? Come to find out, a lot of the things that she prescribes for people with injuries is lifting and strength training in general, which has helped immensely. I won't say that my back pain is completely cured, but it's just another thing to manage.
So I do want to ask you, were you able to bench press 150 pounds?
No.
Okay.
No. So that's an interesting thing issue because it's like metrics. Yeah, numbers are so important for measuring progress. You can build your ego off of them. You can feel good, you can feel guilty, right? But I feel like having metrics to be able to track your progress is important.
Yeah.
And I had put some goals for myself around my weightlifting, like the 150 as you mentioned, which I never hit. I ended up climbing and then digressing into a back injury.
Yeah.
Or even I had some more goals around my like jogging and stuff that I also never hit.
Yeah.
And I try not to have a lot of grief around what I used to be able to do pre-at back injury.
Yeah.
But it comes. Some days it comes.
Yeah.
And I think that really not having ego wrapped up in the numbers is key.
100%.
But then thinking about how do I continue to monitor this while moving forward in a healthy way?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things the back injury has definitely taught me this go around, because I'm not lifting as heavy as I was previously.
Yeah.
But I'm still building towards climbing and being healthy in the best way that I can.
Yeah. That's such a good point. I for a long time had a lot of confidence around like my running and things like that, but I've been really working on not doing that anymore, because you're exactly right. If something happens, you get injured, like that's going to go away. You have to have it coming from another source, like better source, just being you, don't put so much value on you being this, but just being you. So that was kind of like an eye opener for me. And I've been really struggling with that, honestly, lately because of the whole appendix rupture. Yeah.
Yes.
And coming back from that, I've been, putting a lot of pressure on myself to get healthy, get fit, and it's taken a lot longer than I thought it was going to. So I can totally understand the back injury just taking you out, especially with climbing and things like that, because your back is a big muscle and you're using it for a lot of different things. So
it's connected to everything.
And who knows, I mean, if you were really stressed out, I mean, a lot of your energy and your stress can be held in your back too. So I mean, it could have come from a lot of things. So maybe it was just your body saying, hey, stop.
Yes. No, I absolutely agree with that. I have a tendency to hyper focus on things, ignore my body, and sit down and just bang out work on the computer for hours at a time as well.
Yeah.
So I've really also focused into making, what did one PT call it? Snack breaks, but they're movement breaks. Which I think helps with back injuries, because you have to like keep moving, and once you start having your energy stuck or your body kind of stuck in one position for a long time, subject to the same things over and over again, then it's not doing your back any favors.
Yeah, exactly. So what are your workouts looking like right now?
Mostly lifting, actually. I will say that I just hit a new bench weight of 125.
Nice.
Which I'm very happy about. It's not the heaviest that I've ever benched.
Yeah.
But it's 6 reps at 125, and the heaviest I've ever done is 3 reps at 130.
Yeah.
So I think objectively my 3 rep max would probably be heavier now than it would be.
Yeah.
But it's not part of my training quite yet.
Yes.
So 2 times a week I lift. Usually it's deadlift, bench, squats, and then some other supplemental exercises. And then I've actually worked up to climbing 2 times a week, which I wasn't doing before, just because I wasn't well enough to do that. And try to stuff in cardio here and there. But it's kind of weird to say I feel like my cardio has actually gotten better from weightlifting. Not to say that I could go out and run a marathon that I haven't trained for or anything. But like going up the wall, I don't feel as winded. And coming back to climbing, like vertical world, and I think this is very specific for context, because different gyms have different grading, right? That like one gym is softer than another. Vertical world, I will say that I'm climbing up to the 511 top rope right now. And I didn't imagine that I would be going back to 511 top rope already. I was like, I'm going to be at 9s forever, just trying to get that strength back and trying to climb harder. But it felt almost effortless. more effortless than it did in the past.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably, hopefully, from me gaining a little bit of muscle.
Yes.
And I can attribute it directly to my weightlifting simply because it's pretty much the main activity that I've been doing before I jumped back into climbing.
Yeah. I think that's huge too, because like you kind of put this pressure on yourself to like get quote unquote better, and like then you realize at a certain point it's just like the wrong sort of training that you were doing. It wasn't that you weren't strong enough, or you're not the kind of climber who can like do this, but actually you just needed to weightlift, and then you get there and you're like, this is what I needed to do all along. So it's like putting those little puzzle pieces together to find that success for yourself, which is huge too. That's gotta feel good that you found something that's like working.
It does.
Yeah. Are you like, okay, so how are you feeling in the mornings? You were really tired before. Are you still struggling with that?
Yes.
I get up at 4 a.m.
Oh, yes. Well, I get up at 4 a.m. now for my actual job. And I don't mind that. And strangely enough, I get up. I still have my mornings where I'm a little groggy simply because, the weather.
Yeah.
Pacific Northwest, it's cloudy. I have my alarm clock with my light on it, which I think helps quite a bit. But it's nowhere near the level of like absolute dread and just exhaustion of trying to drag myself out of bed every morning. And I do think that that's definitely tied to the viruses that I was having as well, just the complete exhaustion that I felt. So that's gotten a lot better. And I do notice that it's actually tied to sugar.
Oh, okay.
If I eat a bunch of sugar during the day, the next morning I feel almost like I have a mild hangover.
Oh, wow.
So not to say that I'm cutting sugar out completely or anything, because I'm still trying to follow more of an intuitive eating pattern. So I eat sugar, if I want it.
Yeah.
But I do find when I'm stressed, I reach for the sugar.
Yeah.
And then I'm feeling not as great in the mornings. But thank you for remembering and asking. Yeah, so much better than it previously was. I know the winters can be very hard for people here.
Yeah.
Oh, and I should add, one thing that I have added to my winter regime, if you will, is cold plunging. Have you ever been?
No, I mean, I've done ice tub baths when I was like in college. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Like that.
Okay.
Well, we've been doing cold plunge contrast therapy. So you're in the infrared sauna for 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you get out and you cold plunge for, I think it's 1 to 4 minutes. Yeah. But I've never done over a minute. It's really, really cold.
Yeah.
But supposedly it helps with your immune system, your circulation. Yeah. The funny thing is, I started doing it for my partner because he's got some chronic issues with his body.
Yeah.
And his circulation and all that. And so we started doing it for him, and I started doing it, and I was like, I feel great.
Yeah.
It's a great recovery tool. And for some reason, I come out, it's all overcast in the Pacific Northwest, and I'm like, the birds are singing, the sun is shining. Like, it's such a different mind shift for me after I get out of it, that we have continued to do it throughout the winter every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's been really great in that way.
Yeah.
I don't know the science behind it.
Yeah.
But it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
So I keep doing it.
I'm like, maybe your body thinks it's gonna die, and I'm like, it's just beautiful.
I'm so grateful to be here. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
No, it sounds cool. You're talking me into it. I would like to try it and see. I mean, I know like we had a sauna when we were growing up in my basement, which we were really lucky to have one. And then we'd like run in the winter, run outside and go in the snow. And then same thing. Yes, it was really nice.
Nice.
I also hear it's good for your skin. So yeah.
Oh, you could see this.
Yeah. So yeah, I want to try that again. Is it just like a bathtub, or what are you using for your cold plunge?
It's a bathtub.
Yeah.
We go to a place called Float Seattle.
Oh.
It's funny because they have the float tanks, but in Renton they just opened this new location, which is closer to us because we live in the south of Seattle. And they also have the infrared sauna contrast therapy there as well.
Oh, cool.
Every 2 weeks.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, it's a good time.
To look for a place around here.
There might be one in, I think it's in UW area, but somewhere in Seattle, they have several locations.
Yeah.
But even if not, like even Seattle Bouldering Project, they just opened a new location near the university district.
Yeah.
They have contrast therapy cold plunging there now too.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty cool. They have a vault infrared sauna.
Yeah.
Because it used to be a bank.
Oh,
have you seen this?
No.
It's really cool. And then they added the cold plunge.
Yeah.
I haven't used it myself, but I saw the sauna and it was something to see.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's really cool. So do you have any guiding goals that you're working towards now?
Ooh, good question.
Also, you got your certificate, your SPI certificate, right?
I did.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, I'm SPI certified and apprentice rock guide.
Okay.
As well.
Like a short diff there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I know there's so many certifications and like bubbles and everything. The apprentice rock guide is something that you have for life.
Yeah.
So I can teach up to multi-pitch rock terrain for life, as long as I keep my AMGA membership, of course.
Yeah.
But my multi-pitch instructor course and exam is the thing that I was struggling with the last couple of years. So I have some sad news.
Yeah.
I went last May of 2024 to do my re-exam days because I wasn't climbing hard enough. I'm in that weird situation where I'm an older person.
Yeah.
My climbing resume was older, and the chronic conditions that I was suffering from, or we'll say managing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Were really getting me down.
Yeah.
And then I don't test well.
Yeah.
Like some person watching you climb. It just gets to my head. And so I went into last May trying to do my re-exam days, which is just 2 days of, climbing multi-pitch 5-9.
Yeah.
And I went to Smith Rock and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Like I could not climb hard. I was just struggling. I was nervous.
Yeah.
I probably honestly wasn't well enough to try to take it again. But I tried anyway.
Yeah.
And I am proud to say that the rope rescue drill that you have to do that's within 50 minutes, I was able to complete that in under 50 minutes. And I think I did a really nice job. And I do say so myself. But he was like, you just need to climb harder. And I was like, that's fair. The last couple years, climbing really hasn't been my main focus in myself.
Yeah.
And so I have until May of 2026 to do my re-exam.
Yes.
Which I'm okay with. It gives me some time to really feel more comfortable and confident after this back ailment that I had, to really try to be the best guide that I can be.
Yeah.
And for a while there, I was kind of like, do I actually really want this? So I had to really examine, why am I doing this? Why do I want to put myself through this? Why do I want to stress myself out about it and go through something a process that I don't necessarily enjoy?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I was like, I want to do this for me. I've come so far. I put a lot of time, effort, energy, money, resources into this, that if I don't try, I would be doing a big disservice to myself.
Yeah.
So hopefully this season, I'm probably going to be spending a lot of time at Index, doing multi-pitches, and then going for my re-exam days. And then when you're a multi-pitch instructor, you're an SPI for life.
Oh, wow.
So you don't ever have to retest or retake it, to my understanding.
Yeah.
And it's just, you're just able to teach longer multi-pitches. Is all.
Yeah.
But I would like to go and do that and then continue guiding.
Yeah.
There's a couple guiding companies locally that have offered me some positions. And really, I only want to guide people of color and women.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do. I'm not interested in guiding the public, the general population.
Yeah.
These demographics are near and dear to my heart, and I would love to continue doing that. And I think I can continue doing that through the guiding companies who have reached out to me.
Yeah, that's great. I like to be honest, I look up to you a lot for guiding, and I think that the fact that you are just being open and honest and be like, yeah, I was not feeling it, like that, makes me feel better, too, because I really struggle with even just taking the tests at the gym. Is like, I hate it. I can't stand it. And especially if it's somebody who's going to tell me how I'm not doing it right, it's just a whole thing for me. So yeah, for you to say that, that you weren't feeling it that day is, it's empowering to me. So thank you for sharing that. And then are you looking to do any like bigger climbs coming up for yourself personally?
Oh, good question. I It's funny. Usually at the end of the year, I usually sit down with my partner and we talk about all the things we want to do for the upcoming year.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was still like deep in the back injury, and so we just have never sat down to be like, I want to go do all these wonderful things for the upcoming year, which is a little sad, but also I think leaving a lot of space for me not to have high expectations and just kind of go with the flow and see what comes out of it.
Yeah.
There's specific climbs that I do need to do at index for my re-exam days, naturally, which I'll force myself into, which it'll still be fun. But I don't think I have any specific like long objectives to do. I will say I still want to get into big wall climbing. I did take a 3-day course last season to do big wall climbing, and I know some people that are, relatively interested in it. So I think just having a good time and just relaxing into the things that interest me that will flow naturally is probably what I'm going to lean into most this upcoming year.
Yeah.
Around climbing, at least.
Yes. Yeah. Like, so if it happens, great.
Yeah.
When you say big wall climbing, do you mean like at like, I don't know, what's Yosemite? So what comes to mind?
Yes, I think the nose is probably the most famous one. So it was really funny. There's actually an all Filipina group that's going to be going and doing the nose in May. I think it's the first week of May. And one of them was in my class. So if you listen to the podcast Project Pango, or Pango, I think is how you say it. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And they talk about going and doing this project. So the joke at the end of the course is that we were all going to go do the nose after this.
Yeah.
It's it's slab. It's kind of accessible. And B, it's also a really famous climb, right? And a lot of fun to do. I don't think that's going to be my project in particular at this time, but maybe someday. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see what comes about.
Yeah. Would you like sleep in those little ledge things?
Yes, the portaledge.
The portaledge.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't fully answer.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So here's the thing. There has been so much debate in my mind about what big walling is. For example, I've done flyboys in Mazama and prime rib, which are, I think it's like 12 and 17 pitches. Is that big wall climbing?
It sounds like it.
I would consider it like it takes most of the day. Yeah. It's a very big commitment logistical wise. There's a lot of stuff that you have to think about and put into it, right? Yeah. But you're not hauling bags up and you're not sleeping overnight. So a lot of people, their definition of big walling is aid climbing and or sleeping overnight on the wall.
Yeah. Well, you could just sleep.
That was my argument. Yeah. Yes, exactly. I was like, I could just take a portaledge up on the IRC pitch and stick out the night. That's a big wall, right? So I think that really just technique wise, there's just some things with like hauling bags and packing bags, and they call them pigs, to be able to do big wall. So I don't think it's a huge leap for me, but through the definition of big wall that everyone else understands, like the nose, spending multiple nights on the wall, stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
I would definitely love to start to get into.
That would be very cool. And it's very technical. It's something you would love. Are you still wanting to get into alpinism?
Not really.
No, that's not interesting anymore.
I have at least one friend that's like, let's go do alpine stuff. And I think there's two things that have really been stopping me. Mm-hmm. One would be the long day, because in the past my fatigue has really not allowed me to do those things that are specifically alpine, right? Like an hour and a half hike, and then climbing for a day or so. Like it was too much for me in the past. Yeah. The other piece of this for me would be temperature. Yeah. Anytime I got really cold, I would get sick. Just every single time. If my body temperature just lowered, I would just get sick. Mm-hmm. And I think that was definitely tied to the viruses that I was struggling with. Yeah. So slogging out in the snow, right, for like 2 hours and then going and climbing something. I mean, I'm not every alpine climb has snow on it, I know. Just sounds terrible to me.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm like, oh, I know that I'm gonna be, sick right after this. And I have other things in my life that I need to do, like work and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. So no, I think it's a very specific type that people do gravitate to, but I'm not gravitating to that specifically. But maybe this season I might get out and try one just to see.
Yeah.
Just to see what I can do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you might like it. That's the best scenario. I guess the worst scenario is that you hate it the whole time.
That's true.
Yeah. As long as you can put up with that, then you'll be fine.
Yeah. I always say I like to try things at least once and see if I like it or not.
Yeah.
But if it's going to be a hazard to my health, usually I'm like, okay, maybe not this year, maybe just not ever.
Yes, exactly. And that's fair too. I mean, I like this conversation because it's like you're still trying things, you're still looking to improve, but it might not necessarily come out in like a bright, shiny, like, this is what I got. This is I was able to climb this, or, this kind of thing. It's like a period of growth, but you might not necessarily see it like as a concrete change with it, you know what I mean? So do you feel like you've grown a lot in this last year or so since we talked last?
Yeah, specifically since we were just talking about the cold thing.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm able to have my body temperature maintain itself better.
Yeah.
So cold doesn't bother me as much. So get this, I actually went cold water surfing this past season too.
Oh, cool.
In January.
Yeah.
And that's supposedly really good time to go over to the Olympic Peninsula. You have a thick 5 mil wetsuit, 5 to 7 mil gloves and booties. And I was like, well, let's test out this cold theory, like with me getting colder, because I had noticed that I wasn't staying as cold as long and I wasn't getting as sick after being cold.
Yeah.
And so I went and I was fine. Like, just made sure that I was warm afterwards and I got out when I started to feel cold.
Yeah.
And that was a big leap for me because in the past I would be like, oh, cold, I'm out. I'm completely out.
Yes.
No sports, cold water. No, not even going to happen. So I think growth in that perspective has been more me just paying attention and going through the treatments and just making sure that I'm going to stay well.
Yeah.
Right?
How was the experience surfing?
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, I'm terrible at it.
Oh, I love being terrible at it.
Yes. It's nice to be a Gumby in things sometimes where you're just like, oh, I'm just out here flopping it fast, and that's part of the fun of it because there's no expectations, and it's just something new to try. But I think it's something I'd like to do once a year in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Because I do not do snow sports, so I'm just lifting in the gym or climbing inside, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I'd like to get outside.
Yeah, no. And especially if it's nicer out, which I don't know, it's not very nice out today and it hasn't been nice out, but
as long as it's not snowing, I can get out and
I am 100% with you. I left snow in Michigan and I'm happy for it to stay there if possible. I'm not a snow person either.
Same.
I remember one year I was running in Michigan in the wintertime and it had just like dumped snow and I looked to my left and somebody was skiing on the road and I was like, I don't know which of us is doing the weirder thing.
Right? I'm out.
Yeah, I know.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I know. So I had a lot of your different routes that you were thinking about getting on for like the Tooth Fairy.
Oh, tell me.
Yeah. Okay. So you had said you wanted to try Ragged Edge.
It's definitely influenced from my friend trying to get me into alpinism.
Okay, yeah.
And I heard you mention Tooth Fairy. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But someone said Ragged Edge is not a good first alpine class. Tooth Fairy, probably good. It's all bolted, right? Not a huge approach as Ragged Edge, to my understanding. So if I did go out and maybe try something alpine-y, maybe Tooth Fairy.
Tooth Fairy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then there was a route at Smith Rock that you wanted. I think it was Hazley or something like that.
Oh, heresy.
Yeah.
Never got back up on that either.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's I think it's 11A, maybe a B. I think nowadays maybe I would be interested to go back. But this season, I'm really going to be focusing in on index because that's specific terrain that I need for my re-exam days.
Yeah.
Not to say I won't go other places, but I think most of the places that I'll be finding a lot of consistent climbing at will be index for sure.
Yes. Yeah. I love index. I boulder a lot there. I don't.
Oh, see, I don't boulder there. I only do like trad stuff.
Oh, okay.
It's a really sandbagged area though, so I've avoided it the last couple years.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be very interested to see how I do there. I will say,
Yeah.
some people have said that I think it's called headlight lookout point is more moderately graded. So instead of it being sandbagged, it's more like somewhere else that you would go, like Squamish or something.
Oh, okay.
For trad. So I would love to check that out and see what that's all about.
Yeah.
The index is hard.
Yeah.
For me, at least, index is hard.
Yeah. Does it just because it's sandbagged or just because you're
Just because it's sandbagged.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, and then the last one was New Jack City.
Love New Jack City. That's like one of my long-term projects. The beautiful arch called Travesty. And that's a 13A.
Yeah.
So maybe not this year, maybe the year after. Because I think this season is going to be focused on my re-exam days for sure.
Yeah.
And then it also depends on how my climbing goes. Maybe I plateau at 11A, which I'm 39 now. Right? I'm not getting any younger.
Yeah.
Trying to get stronger.
Yeah.
But of course, you never know how these things go. If I was just able to climb 5'7" the rest of my life, I think I'd still be okay with that because I love it and movement is movement.
Yeah.
And as long as you're moving, it definitely lessens your risk of things like dementia or just falling down and breaking a hip or something. I want to be more robust. And if that means that I'm not climbing as hard, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because there are grades out there that you can still have fun on.
Yeah, yeah. I've been thinking about that lately, actually, because I'm also almost 40, and I was thinking, I was just thinking that what if today is the best that I'll be? So, like, appreciating yourself, you know what I mean? Like, every day, because I often think of like, oh, I just want to be stronger. I just want to be this. I want to be that. I wish I looked better, blah, 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 all those things. I'm like, what if today is the best it's going to get, like, and just appreciate it. So, because every day we're getting a little older and, things might not, your knees might not do the thing it's doing right now or whatever. Like and I think it particularly happened when I had my appendix rupture because I was like, oh, wow, I really have to appreciate my body more because not being able to move or having like a tube sticking out of you forever is like a totally different world. So, I think that's a really good point. Just appreciate that, you're able to move and enjoy the things that you're doing a little bit more, be a little bit more present in them instead of wishing you were something else.
Yes, total waste of time, right?
Yeah.
Wishing you were something else. And I'll say something about the best as well, too.
Yeah.
It depends. Your best is so multifaceted as well. Like I will say years ago, maybe my technique was better.
Yeah.
Whereas now that I feel like I have a little bit more muscle, I might be brooding through. So maybe I'm stronger, but my technique sucks a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
So I think taking the small wins, like, okay, right now maybe I'm not climbing as hard, but my technique is better. Take that win.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't always have to be best at every single facet of like, say, climbing all the time because that's unrealistic. And I don't think there's many people that that's attainable for, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is okay. And I think the fact that you're always working towards something, like it's not like this is a great episode for it's not the destination. It's just the work that you're putting in to improve and seeing where that takes you. Like, yeah. I think that was all. The other one that you had was the last goal that you had was the pistol squats.
Oh my Yeah, I have massively changed my tune in a lot of things. Pistol squats. Yeah. So after doing some research, I have found that people with longer thighs just have a harder time doing pistol squats in general. And if anyone knows me, I'm 5'9".
Yeah.
I have an inseam of 32 inches. And if you don't know what your inseam means, it means that you have a regular inseam and mine is long.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was trying and trying and trying. Same with pull-ups. I tried pull-ups for years and I could never do more than one. Which is a big win for me personally, but just some of these things I just had to let go.
Yeah.
I needed to find exercises that are going to be more efficient for my health and more efficient for climbing.
Yes.
And listening to Natasha Barnes, I have definitely found that climb exercises that don't necessarily mirror climbing are okay. And they're actually going to make you stronger than if you were trying to do something that mirrored climbing, like pistol squatting.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think I've actually gotten more out of, say, like deadlifting. I mean, don't come for me if you are a PT and you're like, deadlifting and pistol squats are two separate things. I'll just say the big three exercises I think are a more efficient use of my time.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend massive amounts of time in the gym doing weightlifting. I want to climb.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like there has to be a balance between the weightlifting and the climbing.
Yeah.
And right now for me, that balance is 50-50. 2 days lifting, 2 days climbing.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've found a lot more success in that than me trying to chase pull-ups or pistol squats.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that one's
Yeah.
X'd out. It's gone.
Yes, that is a great answer though. 'Cause, like, sometimes it just doesn't help you get where you want to go. Like, it's all about the time you have to spend on the things that will get you to actually where you want to be in whatever activity you're trying to do.
Yes.
I did want to talk about you've also started something new, which is a business.
Yes.
What is your new business that you've started?
Yeah, so my business is Rock Rose Blog LLC. I started this in January of 2025, which was just a month ago. The funny thing is, it started as a blog.
Yeah.
It started as a blog because there were certain situations I was seeing in the climbing community, specifically around Black folks and Black culture, that I was seeing from other demographics that I wasn't comfortable with.
Yeah.
So I made an entire blog post about it, which morphed into, okay, well, I want this to be accessible for people, so why don't I start actually reading it and putting it on like Spotify?
Yeah.
They're hecka boring, don't get me wrong, but if you are not able to read it, then you can listen to it, right? And I'm sure if you read it, you're probably not going to listen to the boring audio book version of it, and that's fine. But it also then morphed into kind of almost a podcast where I started having people come and talk about their experiences as well. Fast forward to this past month, after I left the affinity group that I was deeply involved with the past 5 years, I still wanted to serve the climbing community, and I still want to be a part of the BIPOC climbing community as well. And I felt like all the skills and all the knowledge that I had and all the connections that I took with me after leaving the group, I could utilize those to still do good in the community. You don't have to be part of a specific organization in order to make a difference.
Yeah.
The difference that we're talking about specifically is people as individuals and their individual actions. And my individual action is going to be having this consulting company, Rock Rose Blog LLC, to offer to communities, to organizations, to companies, to make climbing more accessible, to make it more inclusive and diverse.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So
I'm a small business owner.
No, I saw that LLC.
Oh, and also I wanted to shout out, I think it's the Small Business Bureau. Maybe we can put it in the show notes or whatever, but I had no idea where to start a business. So I was like, I know I need licenses and stuff. Looking at it was overwhelming. There's actually a resource in the Seattle area that they will help you get everything you need not financially, but they will tell you where to go, what you need to do, and counsel you through your entire process.
That's great.
Even after you've created the company.
Yeah.
So big shout out to them. I'm extremely grateful for their time and energy into that.
Yeah. So what are you hoping, like, I guess we're talking about goals. Like, what are you hoping to do with your business?
Yeah. So several things. I had to try to hone it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Consulting could be so much, right?
Yeah.
Specifically, I will say that my skills with the affinity group work was mostly around programming and courses, and then inclusivity with that as well. How to guide people of color, how to guide women. Not to say that it's different, but I think there are certain things that we can add to the conversation that will make their experiences that much better and feel that much more comfortable when they're being guided, or even recreationally when they're going out seeking climbing partners, right?
Yeah.
So there's that piece of it. And then, of course, I don't do conflict resolution.
Yeah.
I have some companies that I can definitely refer to for that. This is more education with the organization or the company to be like, okay, this is the program that you have, or this is the program that you're wanting to have, and how do we pull in the certain demographics you're looking to be involved in this and make them feel valued in this process. The other part of it is I've done a lot of event planning as well. Zoom calls when 2020 hit, right? There was tons of that, and then in-person event planning too. And so I was actually pulled in on a project for the Global Climbing Initiative to organize a Climb Malawi fundraiser.
Yeah.
Climb Malawi is an organization over in Africa that gets the local climbing community climbing. Yes. And you can't see the QR code, but I'm sure we'll put it in the show notes if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So at the Seattle Mountaineers, Friday, March 7th from 5:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. is when we're going to have this event. There's going to be a raffle. There's going to be a table fair with a bunch of companies, local organizations. On top of that, I decided I wanted to have a panel of local Black community organizers as well. So I'll be emceeing that discussion, and the topic is community connection. And I really wanted to showcase some of the local organizations doing the dang work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But on top of that, after watching a Climb Malawi documentary by Mario Stanley, Mario and Genevieve, who were actually the people in the film who went to Africa to help uplift the local climbing community in Malawi, will be there in person on a panel to talk with Phil Henderson from Full Circle Expeditions. We'll talk about that in a minute. But they're all going to be here in person to chat about the film and about working overseas. Because Phil, if you're familiar with Phil Henderson, he's been a guide for like 3 decades and has guided overseas a lot as well. Genevieve Walker is a guide who I think owns or may be working on owning their own guiding company here in the United States in Chattanooga. And then Mario, of course, a longtime guide and coach as well. Powerhouses, by the way, in their own right as Black climbers in the climbing community. Specifically, Phil Henderson. Are you familiar with Phil Henderson?
No,
So he was one of the people that put together a Full Circle Everest, which was the first Black ascent of Mount Everest.
Wow.
And I want to say this was like 2018. It was not that long ago.
Yeah.
And it's very sad and surprising to hear that there has never been an all-Black team prior to this. And with his knowledge and experience, he was like, this is what I want to do with the community.
Yeah.
And there was a number of wonderful people on that expedition as well. So that's kind of like his claim to fame, but he's done so much more locally even. He's got a lot of ties in the Pacific Northwest as well.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So it should be a really wonderful event. I hope that everyone can come out and support this. There's going to be some really amazing raffle items including but not limited to sterling ropes, specialized masochism, which does finger blocks actually. I don't know if I'm announcing this too soon, but he's actually going to be doing some custom finger blocks to sell during that time. But I will talk about this later on my own personal social.
Yeah.
Yes, great event. I really put it all together and just tried to make a space for people that are seeking other people who are like-minded and who are seeking maybe not affinity space specifically, but to hear opinions and ideas of Black climbers specifically.
Yeah.
And that's what this venue is all about. And I was really excited and grateful.
Lucky snores.
This sleep. To have the Global Climbing Initiative trust me with this process of organizing this event.
Yeah. This is really exciting. I can't wait to go.
You're coming?
Yeah.
Yes. Is Jeremy coming?
Jeremy's coming
Jeremy
too.
better
Yes.
come too. Yes, we'll be happy to see you
There. Yes. It's so exciting. So is this your like first big event then?
This is my first big event as a freelance agent.
Okay.
Okay. And my first podcast as a freelance agent.
Yes.
So thanks for having me.
Yeah. I was wondering too, I didn't ask you this before you came here, so if you can't think of anything, that's fine. But now that you've had this other next year of growth, what words of empowerment would you give any woman that is listening? It could be about what you've been learning this past year or whatever you feel. Or if you have anything else that you wanted to add.
Yes. The first thing that popped to my mind is leave.
Yeah.
If you are not valued, if you are feeling drained, if you need space and you just feel like you're not being respected, just leave. There are so many other people in the world who will value you. You just have to find them. You need to hold on to them and love them, honestly. And I know a lot of times things can keep you in situations, so many things, people, your own integrity, right? It might try to keep you there, but the most growth happens sometimes when you leave. You can always maybe try to go back as well. If you're like, this is not working out, let's part amicably. Maybe I can come back at a later date.
Yeah.
But just to give you that fresh perspective to see what's possible outside of that, I think is really refreshing. And I do see people trapped sometimes, myself included, in situations that are not healthy, and you don't realize it until you're out.
Yes.
So taking that first step of just stepping away or just really thinking about the pros and cons of stepping away and then the act of leaving can be the most revolutionary thing you could ever do for yourself.
Yeah. It's a hard choice to make, and especially when you have like your ego, wrapped up in it.
Your identities.
Yes, I do. Yes. And it's hard to just step away, but like, yes, like if you're feeling absolutely terrible and your health is suffering, like, you know what you need to do.
And that includes climbing.
Yeah.
If it's not bringing you joy, it's okay. Step away. It'll be there later.
Yeah, exactly. Well, find something else that you want to do.
Yeah, cross training work.
Exactly. Do you have any other plugs that you would like to do?
Ooh, good question. Well, I will say first and foremost, of course, Rock Rose blog. We talked about that. You can find that at www.rockrose.blog. Also on Spotify, soon to be YouTube as well. I'd like to break into that platform too. And actually, I'd like to do what you do.
Yeah.
And also interview more people on my podcast face to face as well. So if anyone out there has any sort of topic about BIPOC climbing and or policy, which is the tagline of my company, please come forward and I would love to have you on my show.
That'd be great. Yes. And your handle on Instagram?
A Rose on the Rock. And then for my LLC, it's rockrose.blog, just like the website.
Perfect. Yeah. All right. I'm going to do my plugs really quick and then we can wrap up. Sounds good. You can follow me personally. That's at Jacalyn Gross, JACALYNGROSS. You can follow ursportswear. That's the letter U, the letter R, sportswear on all social platforms. You can check out any of our products at ursportswear.com. If you're listening to this and you want to watch the video version, you can go to ursportswear's YouTube page and also subscribe. Both the audio and video version of this podcast was produced by Jeremy Canaria and edited by me. And if you are hearing snores, that is my dog. Okay.
Fast asleep through the whole thing. See the face.
Oh. Yeah, all right, babe, you're awake now. Awake but comfortable. Thank you, Crystal, for doing this. I really appreciate you coming out here. And yes, for my second in-person podcast. And yes, the Climb Malawi. Yeah.
It'll be a great event.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. And I want to say, too, I feel like the work that you do is so important, having women up on your podcast.
Yes.
And I really appreciate it.
Thank you.